October 13th, 1972. High in the Andes Mountains, disaster struck. Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571, carrying a rugby team and their supporters, vanished from the radar. The Fairchild FH-227D aircraft, buffeted by treacherous weather, crashed into a remote, snow-covered mountainside. The impact was brutal, tearing the plane apart and scattering debris across the glacial landscape. Of the 45 souls on board, only 29 initially survived the crash. The world went white, then black. The roar of the engines gave way to the deafening silence of the high Andes. Passengers were thrown about like rag dolls. Metal shrieked, twisted, and finally came to a rest. Those who could unbuckled and stumbled out of the mangled fuselage. Disoriented, injured, and in shock, they surveyed the scene. It was a vision of chaos and despair. The survivors found themselves stranded on a desolate mountainside, over 11,000 feet above sea level. The air was thin, making every breath a struggle. The biting cold pierced through their light clothing. They were exposed to the elements, with no shelter, limited supplies, and no way to contact the outside world. Hope began to dwindle as the harsh reality of their situation set in. Despite the overwhelming odds, the survivors clung to life. They scavenged the wreckage, desperately searching for anything that could help them survive. They salvaged cushions for insulation against the freezing temperatures. They rationed the meager food they found, chocolate, cookies, and a few bottles of wine, stretching it as far as possible. Their will to live was tested, but not broken. Section 5, The Avalanche, Nature's Cruel Blow. In the heart of the Andes, where the air is thin and the cold is relentless, the survivors of the crash faced an unimaginable ordeal. As if their situation wasn't dire enough, nature dealt another devastating blow. The survivors, already weakened by hunger and the harsh conditions, were about to face yet another test of their resilience. On the 10th day after the crash, a massive avalanche roared down the mountainside, engulfing the fuselage where most of the survivors had sought refuge. The sound was deafening, a thunderous roar that echoed through the valley, leaving no time for escape. 8 more lives were lost in the blink of an eye, buried beneath tons of snow and ice. The avalanche struck with such force that it buried the wreckage and the people inside it almost instantly, leaving a scene of utter devastation. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the remaining survivors, their hopes further shattered. The survivors, who had already endured so much, were now faced with the loss of their friends and the realization that their situation had become even more desperate. The avalanche not only took lives, but also buried their scant supplies, making survival even more challenging. The cold, the hunger, and now the grief weighed heavily on their spirits. They huddled together, trying to find warmth and solace in each other's presence. But the sense of despair was overwhelming. The mountain, which had already claimed so much from them, seemed to be an insurmountable enemy. Yet, in the face of such adversity, the human spirit's resilience began to shine through. They knew that to survive, they had to rely on each other more than ever before. The bonds formed in those moments of crisis would become their lifeline, a testament to the strength and endurance of the human spirit in the face of nature's cruelest blows. Section 6. The decision, a pact for survival. Faced with unimaginable and dire circumstances, the dwindling group of survivors made a harrowing and difficult decision, one that would haunt them forever and change their lives. With their food supplies exhausted and starvation looming over them, they agreed to consume the bodies of their deceased companions to survive. It was a ghastly pact, a testament to their desperation and resolve and their primal will to live against all odds. Section 7, the Trek Parado and Canesa's desperate mission. Realizing that rescue was unlikely to come, 2 of the survivors, Roberto Canessa and Nando Parado, decided to take fate into their own hands. Despite their weakened state and the perilous terrain, they embarked on a desperate trek across the treacherous Andes Mountains. Their mission, to find help, and bring back salvation for their fellow survivors. Unfolded.